Thank you.
By the time I do this the third time, I'll have it done.
Okay. Am I turned on? Testing. Okay, great. We've got it down to a nice low routine. Yes.
Yeah. Robbie, is it okay if we do a couple announcements?
Yes, yes, go let you go, then Donna go, then hopefully Don will be here.
Okay.
And he'll go.
Okay.
And then we'll start. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Class 6 of Mind and Its Potential. I just wanted to let you know there are some completion cards. If you are working towards, doing everything that Robbie has assigned and keeping track of that, and you would like a completion card, I have a few copies. I didn't make enough for everyone, so if we run out, I'm happy to make more. But along with that completion card is also an essay question. So both of these will be on that back table just outside the door next to the chocolate if you haven't picked up any chocolate. Thank you, Donna. And Donna's got an announcement as well.
Hi guys, I'm Donna Cease. I'm Spiritual Programs Coordinator for the Center, and I want to just piggyback on Linda a little bit and encourage you, even if you don't think that you're interested in ultimately having all the record keeping done, go ahead and start keeping your, filling out your completion card and keeping it, because you just never know where this course will take you, and your mind might change about whether it's important. So if you start now, you've got it, it's done. So I'll just encourage that. Most important thing first, I think, you probably haven't talked about karma yet. But karma, some of us are familiar with it, some of us have a Western idea of it. The Western shorthand for karma is what goes around comes around. And that doesn't mean just that what we've done comes to us, but that we have sort of control of our future, in the sense of, what we want to encounter, we want to create the causes for encountering that. And so at Kadampa Center, the very reason for our existence is how much we treasure and value the teachings of the Dharma, and how much we treasure having the opportunity to hear them, both from somebody, some amazing teachers like Geshe Geluk and Geshe Sangpo with their deep education, but also from our senior experienced lay teachers. And supporting the Dharma for us is a way of making sure that we continue to have the teachings. So with that in mind, we have a little offering that comes from Kadampa Center to Robbie as a sign of our appreciation to him for leading this class.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
Then I wanted to tell you about a couple of other things that are spiritual programs related. This is the last session of this module, and it's 2 weeks before the next module starts. That one is going to be how to meditate, and that will be starting on Monday, March 4th. You're not lost in the desert for these 2 weeks. If you're interested in continuing to grapple with these topics, there will be discussion groups on Monday nights called Taking It to Heart. And it's like making this real, making it apply to our daily lives. And that'll be here, same time, 7 to 8:30. I believe Aaron Sloan is going to be facilitating those discussions. So please do come for that, and that gives you a really great opportunity to have more wide open discussion, and you don't have to listen to this guy dominate the conversation. And then another thing that's really a great opportunity coming up in just about 2 weeks, we have a visiting teacher coming, Venerable Amy Miller. Now, people who've been coming here for a while are familiar with her because she's been coming pretty much every February for 3 or 4 years now, and she's going to be, she's a Western nun. She's been a nun for, I don't remember how many years, quite a long time, and she's been practicing Buddhism for 32 years. She's going to be, this is going to be on the weekend of February 22nd to 24th, and she's teaching a workshop called Awakening the Warrior Within, which is about thought transformation and how to make all the crappy things that happen in our lives become actually part of our spiritual practice. So it's a really wonderful, rich, meaningful to our daily lives kind of teaching. Before she was a nun, Venerable Amy was an investigative journalist, and she still brings that kind of very incisive mind. She brings that to the Dharma. And on top of that, she's also very warm and approachable. And so please do try to make at least part of that weekend and get exposed to another teacher who can give you a whole new angle on it, and you'll really enjoy what she has to offer. And I think that's it. You got lots of, speaking of visiting speakers, you got a lot of visiting speakers tonight. So I'm going to let Robbie take it away.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Okay, as Donna said, this is our 6th and last class in this Discovering Buddhism module, Mind and Its Potential. It's really flown by. Seems like we were just having the first class a few minutes ago. Anyway, we'll start off with our prayers and some meditation. Over the past 5 weeks, we've gone through all the prayers we usually say here, except for the dedication prayer, which we do at the end of the meditation. And we've just been saying a simple dedication, but tonight we'll add the formal dedication prayer at the end of our meditation. And that is on page 36 in the gold prayer book. And if you're using one of the prayer books in the chair pocket in front of you, it should be on that first page. And there are 2 verses to this, and in English, due to the merits of these virtuous I'm just going to read this and give a little commentary on it. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, that means by the positive energy that I've created in the meditation that I've just done. So that is a virtuous action. May I quickly attain the state of a guru Buddha. May I become a Buddha myself, just like Shakyamuni Buddha did 2,500 years ago. And quickly become a Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state, into the state of Buddhahood. So may I become a Buddha so that I can lead everyone else to the state of Buddhahood, as that's a possibility for every sentient being. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta, and that's the aspiration to do everything for the benefit of others, that has not arisen, and that means not arisen in my mind stream and in the mind streams of others, arise and grow, and may which that has arisen, that which is already there, that little bit of bodhicitta that we already possess, not diminish, but increase more and more. So that's a formal dedication prayer, and we'll do that at the end of our meditation tonight. But we'll start with the taking refuge and generating bodhicitta on page 34. We'll read that 3 times in English. And then we'll read the 4 immeasurables, the 7-limb prayer, the short mandala offering. If you can do the hand mudra, that's good. But first we have another guest speaker before we begin our meditation. Don, do you want to speak now? Otherwise, we're going to do a 50-minute meditation, and you won't be able to speak till after that. This is a very serious group. So I'm going to introduce Don Brown. A lot of people know him. He will be leading the How to Meditate module, and the terms get thrown around a lot, but he is the official founder of Kadampa Center. Okay, he's the one who did it by himself, and he has done a lot of serious meditation retreats in Thailand and Japan and Nepal, and has studied this for a long time, and he refers to himself as an advanced beginner. And so he's going to tell you a little bit about the next module that will be starting March 4th, which is actually 3 weeks, I think, from tonight. Donna said 2. Yeah, okay. So there are 2 nights where we'll have discussion, and then March 4th, Monday, is when the new module will begin. And how many weeks does that go for? 6 weeks again.
Only 6 weeks. Yeah. Hey. So let's see. These are the survivors of Robbie's class. Yeah.
For some reason, we always lose people on the last night. People still have this
They
idea
think
in their
there's an
head that
exam.
they're going to get a test.
Yeah,
because
we
used to
used
do
to
that.
have an
And
exam.
so there's this big
But,
gap that was always full, and now it's just
Yeah.
a sinkhole.
So I'm a little bit late because my Uber driving job, and having teenagers is like one of the best meditations of all, because you go, I'm annoyed. You get to watch annoyed, and then you keep noticing it, and then you let it go, and you go, feels so good to let it go. Teenagers are great for helping you develop patience. We used to have a sign at the first center we had. I don't know how many people ever went to the old center, the one. Yeah, there's a few here. Remember, you walk in the door, there was a little sign that said, "Cherish problems. They are the source of all of our present and future happiness." We could put down "Cherish teenagers." Anyway, teenage girls especially. I love them. Anyway, so I just wrote a few notes. What to expect? I won't go on. How much time do I have, Robbie?
Take all you want.
So wear loose clothing, because we're going to do a lot of we're going to do a lot of sitting. Now, if those of you who are flexible enough, we could have more people sitting on the floor. There are advantages to sitting on the ground, the floor, on cushions and so forth. But so wear loose clothing. There'll be, like I said, a lot more meditation probably than other classes. There's some didactic part of it, but not too much. The books that we're going to use. Now, it's been years since I taught this module, How to Meditate. But anyway, Kathleen McDonald's book has been around a long, long time. It's a great book. This is more like traditional Tibetan Buddhist meditations, which are great. And one of the, my favorite thing about Tibetan Buddhism are the meditations on just the methods to develop compassion. You just cannot find it in any of the other traditions. But this is a book that we're going to spend probably a major chunk of our time on. This is called Mindfulness in Plain English by, I can't say his name, Bhante Gunaratna. But he's, anyway, we're going to do a lot of mindfulness practice. Mac mindfulness. Have you ever heard of that? People, you see, you cannot walk out a grocery store anymore without seeing a whole bunch of books on mindfulness. So what is mindfulness, and how do you cultivate it? So we're going to spend a lot of time doing mindfulness meditations in different traditions. Like Zen has its version of it. Anybody done a little bit of Zazen before? Good. Just bring your Advil if you want to try Zazen. There's plenty of muscle pains and stuff. We'll do that. We'll do practices from particularly the Theravada tradition in Thailand, where I practiced for a while, and then some Vajrayana practice, which is Tibetan Buddhism, and then some other practices, particularly in meditation on loving kindness and compassion. So I think I've said enough. Also, plan. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, I expect everyone who attends to commit to doing some sort of practice. I don't care how often you do it, but do if you say once a week, do it. Actually, I'd like for you to do more than that. But and then also to be committed enough to it, to be here at every class, as much as possible. Every class. There may be some. We'll talk about that next week. But you cannot. I always tell Robbie, sometimes these classes are like doing surgery. We get halfway through the class and we've got everybody opened up, and we've cut out their gallbladder and fit, kidney stones, but we haven't closed them yet. So I think the classes are really meant to be like a total experience. And if you jump out of it at any point in between, you can't really say you've got the experience. So plan to be here, and we'll I can't say we'll have fun, but it'll be interesting. It will be, I don't know, it's meditation.
You can say it, but it won't be true necessarily.
What did you say?
Yeah.
I'll have fun.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Yes.
Can I sit down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
might
Okay.
borrow some of Robbie's ideas, because we should do the prayers. We should be consistent about it.
Yeah. That's what we're finishing. We've gone through them one each week. Yeah. So we're. Okay. Thank you. We've gone through the commercials. Now we're to the program itself. So we'll pick up where we were. Okay, so we'll do the taking refuge in bodhicitta prayer 3 times in English, 4 immeasurables, 7-limb prayer, and the short mandala offering with the hand mudra, if you remember how to do that. If not, that's no problem. Okay, so taking refuge in generating bodhicitta 3 times in English. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. Now we'll do the mandala offering. And if you don't know the hand mudra, you can just keep your hands in front of you. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. So we've said our prayers. That's like preparing the field before we cast the seed, so that the meditation has a better chance of sinking in. And we'll begin the actual meditation. Begin with establishing the posture. Your back is a little bit straighter than you normally sit. Your head is not tilted to one side or the other, maybe just a couple degrees in front of the vertical. Eyes either lightly closed or just slightly open. Mouth lightly closed, your jaws not clenched. Your shoulders are down and a little bit back, so your chest is open. Upper arms are away from the sides of your torso. Right hand is on left with thumbs touching slightly below the level of your navel. If you're sitting in a chair, your feet are flat on the floor or either resting on a cushion, and you're maintaining that straight posture. You're not leaning back in the chair. If you're sitting on a cushion on the floor, you're to the front third of the cushion so that your pelvis can open up and your knees are down towards the floor. And you can either just put one leg in front of the other or cross your legs or even do a full lotus. The point of the posture is not to torture yourself or to be uncomfortable, but to establish a stable posture that maintains itself during the meditation so it's not a distraction. And we can even visualize that our energy channels running up and down our body in front of our spine are opened up by this posture. There's a sense of alertness and energy flowing that we don't feel when we're hunched over. So starting with the top of your head, just work your way down, identify any areas of tension or discomfort now, and identify them so they don't become a distraction during the meditation itself. And now we take 3 deep breaths from the abdomen, with the stomach expanding on the in-breath, so the diaphragm is pulled down, and then contracting on the out-breath. And now we allow our breathing to return to its normal pattern. And if we're thinking about the meaning of the words during the prayers, to a large degree we've already established our motivation. But sometimes our mind is a little scattered right then at the beginning. So let's take a couple minutes and establish our motivation for the meditation to follow. And as much as possible, generate the bodhicitta motivation. The motivation that everything I do, even something as simple as sitting in meditation here for a few minutes, is done so that I may become of greater benefit to others. To my friends, my family, my coworkers, even to the people I don't like, and to those I don't even know. an incredibly expansive, powerful motivation that doesn't necessarily come naturally to us. It's a quality we have to develop. So we can kind of generate it, even if it takes effort, for the next couple minutes. And having set our motivation, we now begin our meditation. And this first meditation of the evening is a simple concentration meditation to develop that ability to concentrate that we need to make progress on our spiritual path. So just place the mind, awareness on the physical sensation of the breath moving in and out through the openings of our nostrils. Nothing more, nothing less than that. The tactile sensation of air moving in and out. Mind on the movement of air. Nothing more, nothing less than that. We're not visualizing it. We're not describing it. Just directly perceiving it. And every time our mind moves to another object, a sound outside the building, an ache somewhere in our body, a memory of something that happened today, a plan for something we have to do this evening, we set that aside and come back to the breath. Over and over and over again. And now we can finish our meditation by reading the dedication verses together. Turn over the page in the prayer book. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings, without exception, into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And you can stretch. Any questions or comments on that meditation? Yeah, we've got one in the back. Julia.
I find when I'm doing this meditation, I feel a dichotomy. I feel the breath, and I feel something watching the breath.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, Buddhism, there's not a dichotomy. There's not an observer and an observed, but I don't know how to explain that.
Well, I think, that's an excellent question. I think we habitually think that there is an observer, that there's someone that the breath and the mind belong to. There's a me or an I. And that's just an habitual way of thinking. So it's very natural, I think, that comes up. We've just kind of trained ourselves. I mean, just because we think something doesn't mean it's true, okay? That's just, as we get into some of the other classes on karma and emptiness, we'll explore how the Buddha said that that's just a misapprehension.
Oh, okay.
But it's a very habitual one for almost all of us.
I
Yeah, as
find
we talked about, or that quote from Alex Berzin, there's just the mind and its perceptions, but there's not anything that mind belongs to.
Right. So then, really, it should be the direct perception of the breathing, and that's it.
If we're seeing what's really happening, I think that's accurate. If we're not bringing all these interpretations and misapprehensions
right, and
to
just
it.
this habitual, I do find that if I think watching, then somehow it melds. I don't know.
Somehow
it sort of becomes one.
Okay, so you're saying watching. You find that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm not telling people to do that because for me personally, it's a little bit distracting.
I see.
Or I find counting the breath distracting. That pulls me into a less direct perception of it. But a lot of people think, including Geshe Geluk, he teaches counting the breath sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of trying what works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. How many people, who here is, just to give Don an idea what he has to work with next go around, how many people here are meditating at least 3 times a week? Okay, good. And I think, I think everybody is, we've been doing some very simple meditations in this class, but you're familiar with the posture and a little bit about concentration, and we did a little bit of analytic meditation, so I think you'll be set up well for the next class. Don will talk more about how to establish a meditation practice. How many people have set up a meditation spot at home or have one already? Meditation room or meditation spot, yeah. Okay, good. So people are making progress. Those are some good basics. That's great. Okay, I'm going to ask you about the homework tonight, which I usually don't do. One of the parts of the homework from last week was to bring a question for discussion. How many people have a question for discussion? We got one hand, we got half a hand, we got a hand. Okay. And this is a question. Would you be willing to share your question with us? Am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to
Okay.
put it in the... Yeah, I think it's related to what the previous question was.
And this is a question for discussion, not a question for Robbie to answer, okay? So I want everybody
okay.
to listen. And
Okay. So, so there is this sense of, according to what Alex Verson definition of the mind is. What I'm really puzzled about is that it says.
let me read that quote again, okay?
Okay.
It's so good, and then we can get to your question, okay? This is a quote from Alex Berzin that I gave out last week. According to the Buddhist definition, mind is mere clarity and awareness, and refers to the individual, subjective, mental activity of experiencing things. Clarity means giving rise to cognitive appearances of things, similar to mental holograms, and awareness refers to cognitively engaging with them. Mere implies that this occurs, and this is what you were talking about, Julia, I think, without a separate, unaffected, monolithic me that is either controlling or observing the activity. The I, capital letter I, exists, but merely as an imputation based on a continuity of ever-changing moments of experiencing ever-changing things. Let me read that last sentence again. He's saying there is an I, but it's not the type I that we normally think of. The I exists, but merely as an imputation based on a continuity of ever-changing moments of experiencing ever-changing things. So our mind is always experiencing ever-changing moments of ever-changing objects, and we impute this concept of I onto that. It's merely an imputation. It has no more real existence than that. It exists, but it exists only as an imputation. And that's something we'll get back to in a lot of the future classes, particularly on emptiness and karma. But it's good to get those words in your mind and start thinking about what they mean. So I'm going to give you the mic back, and you can give us your question.
Yeah, so the question then is, I guess, a clarification of that. If basically it's whoever is witnessing, or I know there is no like I, persona or whatever. I mean, there is this, it's just a witnessing of ever-changing moments, of mind. Because everything, I mean, according to your last, the 2050 or something, it's, intention, conviction, mindfulness, fixation, discriminating aware, that is all mind, states of mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is this part that is witnessing that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be even like, or that is aware of that.
That's the clarity talks to the awareness.
Yeah. So, my question is that awareness the same as, or could it be the same as that flux of mind events? Can they be one? Because right now, I mean, I can perceive it like a separation because I'm experiencing, color, blue, red, noise, all this consciousness. Is there a moment where you just don't, I don't know, karmically experience that separation, but you, I don't know, the witnessing stops? Is it?
I mean, I think this is very similar to what Julia was asking. Anybody want to take a stab at this? Okay, Mike back here. What's the count tonight, Brian?
We had up to 7, but 5 right now.
Oh, God. Okay, let's make it livelier, more entertaining. Let's sing a song. We're losing our audience.
Singing. No, okay. So when I hear you talk, Adriana, I immediately went to that. So we're just this consciousness, we're this stream and this flow of experience. And what makes it clearer, or what allows us to have direct experience and perception of, with clarity, of those events or that phenomena, is karma. Karma is what either obscures it, and then we dilute it, we darken it or whatever, or
our karmic imprints, our karmic habits, and prevent us from seeing things as they really are. Yes.
And then with good karma, we purify, and that vision, if we were going to use that word, is clearer and more in touch with that essence. Is that
okay? That's
fair?
good. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Heard that.
Wait, let me get back to her. Then we'll get to Anna. Yeah, she wanted to respond to that.
I'm just curious. I mean, there is this ability of, if I'm not the witness, if there is this awareness, there is this ability of that awareness to propel you to, enlightenment, for example, or experience things as they are. It's not just, oh, I'm witnessing. There are other states of mind, or according to this list, where you believe. So I don't know. I'm just, I guess, a little bit confused with the last sentence of. It seems to me like it's saying, there is this part where it's just there's no intention behind. You see, there's no intention, but there is purpose. It's not, I'm not just witnessing, but there is purpose if I wish so to have purpose for something, to become enlightenment or so. I that part is where does that impetu or conviction or desire,
all the mental factors we talked about. Yeah. Okay. Confusion's not a bad place to be right now. I'm not going to criticize you for that. Let's see, Anna wanted to say something.
I want to ask, I guess, two things. The clarity, with that would be the space between the thoughts and is ever-changing things. Would that be phenomenon, which is, I guess, energy? Is consciousness energy also?
Wait a minute, slow down. Oh. Go back to your first question, okay? Clarity, okay.
So would the clarity be that space that we so greatly desire between all that phenomena?
The clarity is, again, we talk about this a lot in terms of analogies. The clarity is like the mirror that reflects, okay? The mirror that reflects phenomena.
So it's still a reflection. It's not the enlightened state.
That's an analogy, okay? It's not going to be perfect, okay?
Oh, it's not
perfect.
Okay.
But the clarity, or it's like empty space. It means it has no fixed qualities, okay? So it is the space in the sky in which the clouds occur, okay? But the sky, its nature is clarity.
So is that the Dharmakaya already?
Well, don't go there,
well,
okay?
It's
yeah, that's not what we're talking about
it's
now.
It's still physical. It's still the mush. Okay. But so, Robbie.
Clarity is the nature of the mind.
Okay.
The empty nature of the mind, the empty sky in which the clouds occur.
Okay, we'll stop
The
there.
mirror that has no qualities but just
It
reflects.
And
Okay?
ever-changing things, that's
Things that
phenomenon,
are always
right?
changing, yeah.
Well, so they're energy, right? Because
There can be physical objects, they can be memories, they can be emotions. Okay, those are all things that occur in the clarity of the mind.
is consciousness energy?
What do you mean by energy?
Well, isn't everything energy?
I don't know if the Buddha, I'm teaching a Buddhist class, yeah. You've got to define energy for me.
Well, you said it. I think it's physical, but it's not.
The mind is not physical. Energy is a physical phenomena.
So,
So I don't know
okay,
if I don't know if
ever-changing
according to the
things.
Buddha it'd be correct to say the mind is energy. Anyway, get on to your
Okay.
second question, okay?
Well, so consciousness, is that energy? The phenomenon, ever-changing things, is phenomenon,
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, external phenomena, okay?
but not internal.
Or internal,
Or
yeah.
internal.
Mm.
Could be either.
Yeah. mhm.
Either. But there again, is it energy?
Yeah. Energy is a physical phenomena.
It is physical.
Yeah. So
thank
the
you.
consciousness is non-physical. So I think you'd have to say that the consciousness is not energy.
So it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Who else brought a question that they can share? You had half a question?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't bring my notes.
Okay. Who else brought a question? Okay, we have one over here. Thank you. I had to borrow that. Yeah. This is for the group discussion, okay?
Okay, this is for the group. So my question is about the I, the merely imputed I that exists, and I'm really grappling with that
All the
concept.
questions seem to be about that tonight. Yeah, that's
I'm really
interesting.
grappling with that. So it has occurred to me, and I don't know why it has occurred to me, and I wonder if it's true, but in my meditations it's occurred to me that that I that doesn't exist from its own side, that I take myself to be, that maybe you take me to be, is a little different, and it's not really the same for everyone, so it's not like really true, it's merely imputed, that I'm wondering if that's what the karma sticks to. I'm wondering if we go beyond that I and get to some sort of emptiness past that I, where we disengage from that I, then that's what stops the cycle of all the karma.
I don't think I would agree. Well, anybody else want to take a stab at that? That's a complicated question. Yeah. What does karma travel on, or what does karma attach to?
Yes, thank you. That's more clear.
And I am not at all qualified to talk about that subject, so I'm going to defer to Dr. Brown. No, my understanding, if he wants to, my understanding is that the karma is on the most subtle consciousness, that very deep level of consciousness. It's not traveling on this false sense of I that we have, because that doesn't exist.
Right.
The I that we think exists does not exist, and karma is a real phenomena, so it can't be attached to a delusion.
But when we're liberated, don't we get free of the karma?
That's a good question also. We've certainly purified all our negative karma, yeah. Whether the Buddha is still creating karma or not, you hear different answers to, but we have a advanced beginner in the back who can address these issues.
Good questions. I'll tell you a story.
This is a very thought-provoking group, yes.
I'll tell you, this is a good story about the question about whether karma. The first is, I think Buddha's, you still, when you reach nirvana, which is not enlightenment, but it's a lesser enlightenment.
Yeah,
when
we
you
talked
reach
about
nirvana,
that.
you still have karma. You still have karma. And supposedly even Buddha's I better be careful when I say this, but you know, they're sort of beyond karma. It's a state beyond. It's an unconditioned state. That's what we call it. But anyway, this story is of this guy. His name was Ngui Mala, and he was this guy who was running through the woods trying to kill people. And his teacher had told him that when he killed 1,000 people, then he would get the pith instructions and get enlightened. So
not a valid teacher. Okay.
He had a bad teacher. So
there are bad teachers.
He's running through the woods, and he's got 999. He's got like a big necklace of fingers of the 999 people that he killed, and he sees the Buddha walking through the woods, and you know, he's racing after him, and the Buddha's just walking very slowly, mindfully, and Guimala's racing, but he can't get any closer. And then Guimala says, "Hey, stop, so I can kill you." So the Buddha said, turned around, looked at him, and said, "I have stopped." Whoa. I have stopped. I've stopped suffering. I've stopped the delusions. I've stopped. He said, "Now you stop. And, you know, stop doing what you're doing." And fast forward, and Guimala was so taken by the Buddha's presence and by the Buddha's teachings that he became a student, and he started practicing, and he purified eons and eons of negative karma. But he'd killed so many people. It's said that he actually achieved the state of arhathood, or nirvana, basically, beyond suffering. But every time he went to town, he would get the crap beat out of him. Because he still had karma. But he didn't suffer. He didn't suffer. So pain and suffering are not the same thing. So, yeah, we got a long way to go. We can get real philosophical, but you know, working to purify our karma, one breath at a time, learning to let go, you know, one breath at a time, focusing as you know, lamas, some of our teachers say, focusing on the next moment of consciousness with clarity and awareness. So that's where we need to be, and that is not easy to do. As we know, if we've done, I mean, how many people can breathe five? Let's see, how many people lose their breath lose their attention after 2 breaths? How many people can make it up to 5 breaths? Raise your hand if you can get to 5. That's good. 5 breaths is really good. It takes a lot of practice, doesn't it? It's very difficult to tame and focus the mind.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
That's enough.
So anyway, karma is the reality of our existence according to the Buddha. It's not a delusion. It's not a projection. It is in fact, the Buddha said it was the most profound of all his teachings. So I think it would be incorrect to say that that's traveling on this projected, hallucinated sense of I. Okay, it's traveling on the consciousness at a very deep level of the consciousness. Okay, this false sense of I that we have, that we hallucinate, and that, but just by virtue of being human beings, we all tend to do. We all are sharing that. We all have the same hallucination. That false sense of I has no reality or existence beyond our hallucinating it. So I think it'd be incorrect to say that karma travels on that, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, because I was trying to conceptualize how you get beyond karma.
Yeah. Yeah.
I referred to that a little bit, and I've heard a lot about that, and it's like, well, maybe it's like when you lose your sense of personal identity, then you get beyond that.
Yeah, but there's still lots of negative karma that we have to purify. Okay? And to go beyond karma, to become a Buddha, as Don said, an unconditioned state. Everything that's dependent upon karma is referred to as being conditioned, okay? But to get to the state of Buddhahood, we have to create the karma to get there. We just don't happen into it, okay? We have to create the causes to become a Buddha.
Okay.
So we get rid of the negative karma, but we also have to create positive karma
Okay.
at the same time
Thank you.
if we want to get to that state. Okay. Do we have a hand here? Oh, okay, Jason.
Where does karma end and free will begin?
That's an excellent question, and we'll be talking about that in the class on karma. Who's teaching the one on karma? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sometimes I teach it, sometimes Hemet teaches it, so no time. But that's a great question. You know, are we all, are we Buddhist or are we Presbyterians? You know, what's the, where on the continuum? And for most of us right now, you know, or I'll speak for myself, I'm pretty much 99.9% under the control of karma, which leaves 0.01% free will, okay? As we make progress along our spiritual path, as we purify negative karma, as we start to see things as they really are, that ratio starts to change. Less under the control of karma, more having a choice, okay? Again, the karmic influence diminishes and diminishes, and then when we get to the state of Buddhahood, there's no karmic control. It's complete free will.
So over time, your free will increases.
If you're working on your spiritual path and making progress. If you're just living a instinctive life, you know, just responding to karma, you're just going to become more under the control of your karma, okay? But that's a possibility to move in the direction of more free will. But if, you know, most of us, if we look at our daily lives, we're reacting, and those reactions are pretty much uncontrolled. We don't have any say over them, how we react to things. That's karma playing out on a day-to-day basis. A Buddha has no, you know, forced reactions, okay? But now we are forced by our karma. You know, the example that we always use is when you're sitting in a dentist chair and he's drilling on your back molar, your karma forces you to experience that as unpleasant. You don't have a choice of saying, oh, this is really nice, I'm enjoying this, have at it. But if you are a Buddha, you could, that could be your experience, okay? Let's see, wait a minute, here and then here, okay. Somehow karma always comes up in whatever class we're talking about.
The thing I was going to say first was it seems like when you talk about the I, so the I, the karma is not riding on this idea of I, but the karma creates, or would you say the karma creates the I?
Yeah, this false sense of I.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely the result of negative karma. Yeah, it's not a virtuous mind state. It's a result of negative karma, and it causes us to suffer.
Yeah. And then the second thing I was thinking, being told, and I don't know if this may be you know for the next class, but that like the gross consciousness is completely created by karma. So so if you're thinking, like all thinking is in that way is created by karma. So is saying like if a Buddha's not being controlled by karma, is that just because it's more of a subtle consciousness? How, you know, just trying to figure out.
I mean, my understanding is that a Buddha is experiencing the subtle consciousness. These gross consciousnesses have faded away. So I think that I'm not an expert on that subject at all, but I think that's generally kind of accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. See Gary up here. I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to say that a Buddha has a gross consciousness.
Back on the issue of karma brings you to a point of something. And karma could bring me to the point of pulling the trigger to commit a murder. But it's hard for me not to accept that brings a lot of people to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And some choose not to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And some choose to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't think a defense is the karma made me do it.
It's not going to get you off in court. I can promise you that.
It was,
yeah.
it was the karma that done
it. Yeah. Your Honor, it's the karma that did it. Yeah.
But there seems to be, maybe not free will because the karma is taken over, but people make those choices.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. Again, it's something everybody has to think about on their own. Is the person who chooses not to pull the trigger, is that the result of good karma? In some way, it has to be. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and yes, and then there's the other person who has their karma for whether or not you pull the trigger. So this is why the Buddha said it's the most. He said karma is the most profound thing he taught and the most difficult to really understand. We think of it in a very simple sort of, I hit you and you're going to hit me in the next life, and it's much, much deeper and more complex than that. And that's, there are all these texts up here about karma, but if you want to read them, okay. Okay.
But that came from the Hindu religion, right? That is not something that...
Buddha did not invent the idea of karma. Okay, he gave his particular spin on it based on his observations of his own mind. But there are other religious traditions that have beliefs in karma also.
I do have another question. The very subtle consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So who does that belong to?
Everybody has that, okay? We're just not aware of it. We have a gross consciousness, a subtle consciousness, and a very subtle consciousness.
Right, but so it is completely detached from the I, but it still belongs to us.
Well, there's no I that it belongs to. That's
so who does it belong to?
No, it exists, okay? But there is no I that it belongs to. That's a hallucination that we all share, yeah. When we talk in those terms, I have this feeling, I had that feeling, I felt this way. And the Buddha is saying that sense of an I that the consciousness belongs to is a delusion. Okay? Let's see, one more. Okay, yeah.
Going back to the karma and choice, like if karma is driving the choices that you're making, how can you ever change?
That's a good question, and I cannot answer that. Everybody has to think about that one for themselves. If karma exists, is there ever any true free choice? That's what you're asking, right? That's a good question. I can't answer that. Everybody has to think about that on their own and talk about it in the class on karma. Let's take one more comment and then we're... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, karma by itself is based on causes and conditions, so you can change the causes and conditions to either purify it or minimize it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's how you do it. It's like, take an example of something bad that happens to you, or you do something bad. Think back how you could have changed the way you reacted, and then do it the next time. It'll probably go a little better for you.
Yeah, this is a good subject, and it'll be talked about in the course on karma. Okay, thank you. I think these comments, as wide-ranging as they were, indicate that, to me at least, that you got what this class was about. And I just want people, because we have one more commercial announcement, so I'm going to wind up here. I just want people, as they go through the other modules in Discovering Buddhism, if you find it confusing or strange, always come back to this first module. It's about the mind. How is this working with my mind? That's what everything in Buddhism is about. And the fact that, as we've discussed in this class, our mind is clear, lacks any fixed qualities, that is, to me, the incredibly optimistic message of Buddhism, that our mind has the potential to become anything. If it were fixed, if it had qualities, then we would be stuck with those, and we're not. Our mind is like completely empty space, and we can put in there whatever we want to. Okay, so that's whatever else you got from this course. I hope you'll take that home with you. I would encourage people to do the completion card. It's just checking off that you've done all the meditations is in the homework. There's one question to answer, and then I've asked you to write a brief essay, just no longer than 1 page, and all that has to be turned in by March 4th, by the beginning of the next class. And you can either give them to Linda here at the center, you can give them to me if you see me, or I have a mail slot out here in the hall across from the bathrooms. And that way you'll get a certificate, and you'll be official Mind and Its Potential graduate at Kadampa Center. So there are 2 pages to that, to make sure to get those at the back of the room tonight on your way out. And then I'm going to ask Sandy Carlson, who's president of the board of directors here at Kadampa Center, to come up.
And I did discover that it is Dawn that's going to be teaching karma. So.
Ah, good.
Okay, last commercial, I promise. But I'm a little curious here. So I've been given copy, but I'm much better talking than I am reading. So I've got a question. How many people in this class have attended Buddhism in a nutshell? Okay, so quite a few people over the years, you've attended Buddhism in a nutshell. How many of those people knew that Venerable Amy is the one that basically wrote the curriculum for that class? So if you have the opportunity to come visit her, I really highly recommend it. If you received any benefit from Buddhism in a nutshell, she's the one who wrote the book. Okay, so I really, really try to recommend people coming to see that. One of the things that's so very important, and one of the things that I love talking about at Kadampa Center, is that we offer all of these teachings free. You do not have to pay for these teachings. We're one of the few FPMT centers worldwide that have that ability. And how do we do that? Because we all sponsor, because of our acts of generosity. And so we have the opportunity to help sponsor Venerable Amy's teachings. You can go to the website. You can learn different ways to do this. Part of this is connecting you with those teachers. That is a history that has gone back 2,500 years. That's how the Buddha's teachings have been presented all throughout these years, by sponsoring the teachers. Here at Kadampa Center, we're very fortunate because we've got Geshe Gelik Choda, Geshe Sangpo that are here. We have resident teachers here. So we don't have very many opportunities for visiting teachers to come in. So it's really important for us to really try to show these visiting teachers that we want them to come, that we support them, that we support Kadampa Center, because it helps to keep the lights on, it helps to keep this building paid, the mortgage paid. And also, so as you're thinking about some of these things and potentially sponsoring Venerable Amy, if you've received the benefit, we have ways to offer thank yous, because Robbie does this for free. Don Brown does this for free. Any of the classes that I lead, or any of the people that are leading classes here, we all basically work for free. You only pay a few. Donna Cease is our SPC, works for free. Okay, we only pay a few people to work here. So we're just very fortunate that number one, we have so many volunteers to do this. And the only way that we can do it is by that practice of generosity. And generosity is one of the 6 perfections. So it is my commercial to say it's part of how we support our center. It's part of how we respect our teachers. It's part of how we show and create the causes and conditions to have these teachers here, to have this center here, to have class leaders like Robbie here. So if you've got any questions about sponsoring teachers or about supporting the center, either Jill Marie, our center manager, is somebody good to talk to. Donna Cease, who was here earlier, is also somebody wonderful to talk to anytime you want to talk to me about it. But you all have been coming here. A lot of you have seen faces, so I know that so many people already give, and I'm so appreciative of that, because we wouldn't be here if you all weren't supporting it, because we don't get money any other way. So I can't thank you enough for that. Again, my plug for Venerable Amy. I also taken classes with Don Brown in his meditation class, so that's phenomenal. Do wear loose clothing. Robbie, thank you very much for everything you do.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone. That is our class. Let's just do another brief dedication, just a silent one. acknowledge all the positive energy that we've created tonight and the previous 5 weeks. Our mind is certainly a little different than it was when we started. We're having different thoughts arise in that clarity. Some of them are confused thoughts, and that's perfectly okay. But we have made a positive impression there that will ripen in the future in a way that benefits others. Okay, so there'll be discussion tonight afterwards, and then we'll have discussion groups the next 2 Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and How to Meditate starts March 4th. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.